Hi, it's Cher. Welcome back to the channel, Grin and Grandma's channel. I'm going to be kind of looking at different places today, and the reason for that is, instead of looking straight at the camera, I enlisted the help of GPT. I wanted to kind of go over what sold in our booths in Elizabethton, Tennessee at the Village Antiques and Home Decor Mall. I'm only going to do this one shop instead of adding in the one for Zephyrs because we just haven't gotten our settlement statement there yet. We get those a little bit later in the month than we do from the village. So I wanted to let you know not only what sold, but what was the most popular and that type of thing. I hope you find this interesting because when I asked ChatGPT to do the analysis, it was interesting to me. So I'm hoping, and I learned a lot, so I'm hoping maybe you can learn something too when you're looking through your booth, or if you're thinking about starting a booth or whatever. I hope it's helpful. Well, first of all, the average price of what sold was $17.51. And we had a pretty good month, by the way, in February. And for some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason, it seems like our Februaries are always pretty strong. And that's typically not something that happens to most booth owners. Most booth owners find that the month of February is slow. So, now, in retrospect, I do know that the sales that we had in Elizabethton were slower than they were in January. So, it just really depends on the shop. But basically, through the 25 years plus that we've been doing this, February has been a good month for us. Now, I don't know if it's because we tend to stock our booths more because we know that tax returns are coming out. I just don't know. But maybe this will help me understand, and hopefully it'll help you understand too. But anyway, we sold, to give you an example, a lot of decorative and collectible items. February was Valentine's month, but and we did have a few extra tchotchkes for that month, but those aren't really what sold. Now, we did add in a lot of little trinkets or animal type ceramic items and porcelain items because we knew that Easter was going to be coming up and people like little animals to decorate with, some religious items, etc. So anyway, the decorative and collectible items that we had in our booth actually equaled between 30 and 35% of the items that we sold. And some of those included a little Tilso angel figurine that we had, a vintage Napco mermaid soap dish that was really cute, by the way, some ceramic quails, some little Maltese puppy figurines, a bunny candle, a squirrel figurine, and I sold some of those online as well, and a planner and a poster. I don't know which poster that was, but anyway, those were, as I said, about 35% of the items that actually sold. And we always try to keep some kitchenware or household items in there. This month, or this past month, February, they equaled about 25% of the items that sold. For example, we had some vintage Corningware, and we had 2 pieces of vintage Corningware. The cost of those actually depends on whether or not we have lids that were included with them. As I recall, one did, one didn't. So Anyway, both of those sold. We had a vintage egg dish. I think that was from France, actually. And egg dishes are popular right now, as they were in February, because, again, Easter, Easter bunny, Easter eggs, etc. We had some Corel mugs. They were like I think they were like a turquoise color. I can't even remember. But those sold. Some spoons sold. We had a cooking pot that had a steamer included inside. That sold. Let me see what else here. Oh, books. We always have a nice supply. Not a lot. Not an overwhelming supply, but we have a nice supply of books that we keep in the booth as well. One thing that sold was a 1973 yearbook from one of the local colleges here. We had a decorating book that sold. Pipes and Drums of Scotland. And a lot of times the books that are representative of different countries' culture will sell. So anyway, Pipes and Drums of Scotland is the name of a book that sold. And those had about 10 to 15% of the overall items that sold. Books always seem to sell for us. We sell some, but I mean, they're lower priced items, but they do sell. I'm going to say the average was maybe $6 to $7 each. We always keep some jewelry around too, and I only sell costume jewelry in the booth, and I have a lot of it. But again, now the cost of those items are low. And the reason that I only keep the costume jewelry in is because people have a tendency to want to walk off with jewelry. It's too easy to put in your pocket or handbag. And, I just hate it, but it happens. And I've had items like $3 earrings disappear. And what's really bad about that is that, yeah, they're robbing us, but that's not it. They're robbing themselves out of the opportunity to go to heaven. And I really, really hate that for them and wonder if they actually understand what they're doing. But anyway, as far as jewelry goes, I sold a little amulet type necklace, a chain with another amulet, jewelry box. I had a bag of jewelry that was just jewelry bits that either they were mismatched or maybe some pieces were broken, and some miscellaneous earrings, both clip and pierced earrings. So the jewelry was about 15%. Now, as far as the furniture goes, the furniture actually helped bring the total amount up. We sold a chest of drawers, a 4-drawer chest, microfiber chair. I think you saw me put that in, and probably the chest of drawers as well. That little gray cabinet that I didn't understand why it wasn't selling, sold. We had a little bookshelf that was, I think it was pressed wood actually, but it was the kind that kind of leaned so that the books could stand up easier in it. That sold. And those items were 40 to 50% of everything that we sold. So I thought that was pretty interesting. The cost, by the way, of the mid-range kitchen collectibles that we sold, the Corningware was $18 and $30. The Italian, it was Italian, not French. The Italian ceramic egg dish was $22.95, and the Corel mug set, can't remember if there were 4 or 6. Anyway, they sold for $15.75, and they're always good mid-range sellers. But most of the items that we had sold in the between $5 and $20 range. That was the strongest volume anyway. But we had a lot of small sales, which is pretty typical for us. And then, of course, the larger pieces helped the revenue creep up. And as far as the collectibles go, the nostalgic items, the angels, the animals, the figurines, vintage decor, all of those items for vintage. We had some small items that we put in there for impulse buyers as well, like, $5 to $15, just little, as I said, tchotchkes. Some of those could be salt and pepper shakers, which I generally sell for between $6 and $10. So, ChatGPT is suggesting that I stock more Corningware and Corelle. Corelle, of course, is a lot different than China dishes. The kids or the younger people just don't like China anymore. And there's several reasons for that. One is that China typically won't go in the dishwasher or the microwave. Microwave because of the gold or the silver trim that's on it. And, people just don't have those big dinner parties like they used to. So, that's it. China just doesn't sell. The little items like the little tchotchkes, the salt and pepper shakers, for example, are pretty good sellers because they're just easy impulse items. They're cute. They're easy to carry. They fit very well in cottage type designs. And I try to carry the collectible brands like Homco, Napco, Elizabethton, etc. So, I'm taking a look here to see what else that they were talking about. Oh, most antique dealers want to get according to ChatGPT, the perfect booth mix looks like the following. Small decor, $5 to $20, is usually a 50 to 60% total sales of the booth. Kitchen vintage is always good. Furniture is good. Unique collectibles, about 10%. So those types of different items helps to keep your traffic flowing through your booth and your revenue steady. So, one thing they're saying too is that the kids, I call them kids, the younger people, really like the LPs, the vinyl LPs, which I think is wonderful now because I grew up with it, and it's just nostalgic, and I'm glad that they're turning back to things like that as well. Vintage Pyrex is always really good. I have very little Pyrex because it's so hard to find at a decent price. At a decent price. That's the key phrase here. But a lot of people grew up with it. It's durable. It's usable. Some people collect specific patterns of it. And Pyrex is actually one of the most reliable sellers that you can get in your booth. And basically pretty much the same as Corningware. Corningware isn't as popular as Pyrex, but it still is popular because it's highly recognizable, it's practical, and it does fit in with vintage kitchen decor. The let me see here. Oh yeah, the vintage planters. I don't usually sell a lot of planters, although I keep them in the booth just to have a little bit of uh, variety in there. And the colors are always the vintage color. The vintage planters are always interesting colors to me anyway. And sometimes I'll put some faux floral in with them. I never put live plants in my booth because I never know when I'm going to be able to get back to either water them or rearrange them or check them to make sure they're still alive, etc. Faux flowers, I don't have to worry about that. Old books with decorative colors, covers, are usually pretty popular as well. Even if they're torn, the covers, uh, they're falling apart or whatever, people think they're interesting, and they're good to add to your shelves and put things on top of to help stage them. So, and they're very, very popular in farmhouse type decorating. So, vintage kitchen utensils are good. They're, again, inexpensive. It's a good impulse buy. People like them because they're still practical. And if they have a cottage or a farmhouse kitchen, they're popular in there as well. Vintage glassware or mugs. Clear glass doesn't do real well for me. Sometimes if it's a pretty set of glassware, it will go off the shelf. But most of the time, just plain glass that's old, nah, it's not something that people look for. So, and plus, they can go to the dollar store and get something similar. If it's just plain glass, they're not interested necessarily in the vintage glass because they all look the same. So, you want to make sure that the items that you have on your shelves kind of fit in with some of or do fit in with the areas that I've been talking about, because who wants to pay rent on items or for items that just don't sell? So what we normally do is take them off the shelves, and sometimes we'll put them in one of our other booths, or we'll just donate them. And hopefully remember that you make your money on the buy. You don't make your money on the sale. So if you're overpaying for something, you're not going to be making a lot of money on it. If you underprice it, you're not going to be making a lot of money on it. So you want to buy your items as low as possible and sell them not necessarily at the very highest price, but at a price where you know that you're going to recoup that money that you spent on it, the money that you spent storing it on your shelf. Just some things to think about. And with the formal china that we were talking about before, they take up a lot of storage space, and young people don't have that type of storage space. So they're pretty, but they just don't go anywhere. Collector plates. Oh, I wish. But again, most collectors stopped buying those plates a long time ago. And as much as I love the collector plates by, oh shoot, now I can't even think of his name. The Post, Saturday Evening Post, he did the pictures for them. I can't think of it. I'll put it here. when I think of it, which will be as soon as I shut this video off. But anyway, I love those plates, but again, they're such slow movers, and if they sell very cheaply, like at maybe $3 each, something like that. So if you're going to buy them for resale, don't pay any more than maybe 50 cents for them. It's just not smart. Who wants to pay $2 for a collector plate and sell them for 3 or 4? And then of course, remembering when you sell it, you also give up a certain percentage of that sale. So it just doesn't make sense, at least for me. So my inventory seems to rotate around the smaller items, like the small decor figurines, the kitchenware, that type of thing. And large furniture, by the way, just sits for a long time. Now, I know that some of the experts are saying that the wooden pieces are coming back, the wooden brown pieces, and that's good, but keep in mind that the big brown pieces, the large furniture pieces, are just really harder to sell, because the homes that people have nowadays are smaller, the rooms are smaller, and when they look at your booth and look at your furniture items, the first thing they're going to wonder is, will it fit in that room? Will it fit in that corner or on top of that table, or that type of thing? So keep that in mind. And plus, the bigger items are just harder to move. Now, we do sell it. For example, we put a large vintage kitchen cupboard in our booth, and it sold today, in fact, which was very unusual, but we did have it at a decent price. So just wanted you to know about that. I guess really that's enough for this particular video. I do have one coming up on a reset that we did for the village, and we are going to Abingdon tomorrow to Zephyr's Antiques. If you've enjoyed this type of video, please comment, let me know that you did like it, or if you're shy on commenting, leave me an emoji, maybe a smiley face, or if you don't like it, leave that little dung emoji. I don't care. But anyway, if you would, leave me a comment or an emoji, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. That just lets me know that you did enjoy this type of video. So thanks again. I appreciate you. I hope you have a wonderful week. God bless each and every one of you. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.